Okay, so let's talk about money. Yes, money. Let's talk about money. I know this is one major reason why a lot of people who think about buying businesses, investing in real estate, and so on, don't even make any move, because the first thing they think about is the money. And they ask themselves questions like, how do I get this money? How do I even raise this money? How do I even start? Where do I even start from? So I'm here to talk about money and how to ensure that money doesn't become an obstacle for you into going into buying an existing business or investing in real estate the right way. Money doesn't come up first, right? So that's what we're talking about today. So let's dive into it. But before we go into it, I'd like to welcome back my OG subscribers. If you're new to this channel, welcome to you as well. My name is Frederick. I am here in Ontario, Canada, West Side, GTA. And, I'm a business owner, entrepreneur. I invest here in Canada, in the USA. And, I just talk about all my experiences when it comes to investing. And, this channel is pretty much just to help everybody else who's trying to do the same thing and just get started, okay? So let's go straight into it. Money. Yes. So first things first, money, I want us to understand the importance of money. Money, yes, there's so many things we can do with money, but I don't want money to be a obstacle. I don't want it to be an obstacle, in stopping you from getting into the game. Money is a means of exchange. So if you're trying to get something of value, you have to part with money before you get that thing of value, right? So, yes, you need money to buy businesses, you need money to invest, you need money to do a lot of things. But the first thing I always want us to remember is the fact that even if you have all the money in the world, but you don't have the right mindset, it ain't gonna get you anywhere. It's not gonna get you anywhere, right? So the first thing I want us to pay attention to, even before the money comes up, is our mindset. Mindset is the most important thing. It's the most important thing, if you ask me. If you have the right mindset, right? If you have the right mindset, even when you don't have the money is going to show up somehow, right? As long as you have the right mindset and you believe in yourself that you can get this, this kind of thing done, the money is going to show up, right? But having said that, without ignoring the fact that money is important, let's talk about how you can finance business acquisitions or real estate investments, right? Or any kind of investment that you wish to do, right? So the first one that I want us to think about is savings, whatever it is, right? Just savings. We have to have a savings culture. You have to have some kind of, you start by saving money, right? Whatever monies you make, just put a particular fraction aside as savings and just keep saving it. Usually the best thing to do is to open what they call a high interest savings account, and you just put a fraction of the monies you get on a periodic basis, and then the money starts to grow little by little. What that does is when you're ready to do a big project, you already have some little money saved up that you can use as a starter, right? That's the first thing, right? The second thing is, in buying existing businesses, you remember one of the reasons why owners are selling is because probably their kids are not invested in it, their kids are not interested in it. So they want to sell because they're trying to retire and they're trying to look for who to hand over these businesses to. Remember the fact as well that it's their legacy. So this is something they've put in all their efforts, they put in all their work to try and grow it from scratch. They've run it for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, sometimes even more than 50 years. Now they're trying to retire. So they're actually also looking for people people they can trust, people that they feel can carry on with the legacy, right? So money's not the point I'm trying to make is money's not their main priority. Money is good, they want to get the money for their effort, but money is not the only priority for them. So what they also do is they're also looking for somebody who's going to be able to carry out and continue the legacy, right? So these owners, because of that, are also interested in helping that person who's going to take over the business in making it easier for the person to carry on with the legacy, right? So they're willing to do what they call the seller financing. Seller financing pretty much means where the seller is your bank. The seller is giving you monies for a particular period at an agreed interest rate so that you can you don't have to come up with the money by yourself. In other words, look at it from this angle. The seller is your bank. They're acting as a bank, and they're advancing you some parts, or even, if you're lucky, all the monies as a loan, right? Sellers also stand to benefit from this seller financing model because it can also help them to save a lot of taxes. So they don't, because if you know what capital gains tax is when you buy something for $10 and you're selling it maybe 10 years time for $20, that $10 profit that you make, the government wants you to pay capital gains tax on it because you profited, you made a gain, right? So when that profit becomes a lot for these sellers, especially when they've owned these businesses for a very long time, they don't want to pay all that tax to government. So seller financing also helps them manage those taxes so that they don't have to pay all that monies in bulk to government. So seller financing is a two-way street. The benefits is a two-way street. It benefits the seller. It also benefits the buyer. So for you as a buyer, it reduces the amount of money that you have to come out of pocket with in order to buy that business, which is good for you, right? You don't have to, you don't have to stress with the bank. You don't have to worry going through all the processes that the banks will subject you to because the seller is pretty much your bank, right? So that is one easier way that you can use to finance your acquisition of an existing business, right? Now, the third one is partnerships and collaborations. Now, two or more people could come together, especially when they understand themselves and they have the same mindset. They can come together and put resources together or finances together to acquire a business, right? So this also makes it easier as opposed to when one person is carrying the financial burden. So for a practical example, you're trying to buy a business that is, let's say, worth $250,000. And the down payment that you're required to get is, let's say, $50,000. And you only have $20,000. You can partner with somebody else who has the same kind of mindset and has the same kind of vision with you by putting the $50,000 together with this person, which makes it easier. So you have $20,000. It's possible that the person might have $25,000 or $30,000, or you can have $25,000 and the person can have $25,000, and therefore you're able to put the $50,000 together, right? But a note of caution is that you must make sure that whoever you're partnering with is somebody who has the same kind of mindset with you and somebody who has the same kind of vision. Because if there's a misalignment of that, it's going to be a recipe for problems in the future with that person. So partnerships and collaborations are an easy way of making sure of acquiring existing businesses without one person having to carry the entire burden, right? Another way you can also raise finance, you can deal with the financing part, is also invite investors. So unlike the partnerships and collaborations, in that case, both of you have an equity stake in the business, but you could also raise money through investors. So investors don't necessarily need to have equity stakes in the business. They could just lend you monies, especially when you sell the goal to them, you sell the vision to them of what you're trying to achieve, and they could just lend you monies, of course, at terms to be agreed between both parties. They could lend you monies, and with those monies, you can fund all or part of the businesses, so you don't have to carry the burden on your own or by yourself. Okay, so that's another way you can raise the money through investors that can help you, by giving you the money, by lending you the monies that you need in order to do this, right? Another way, which is one of the most traditional ways of doing stuff like this, is friends and family, right? If you have friends and families that you can go talk to so that they can they can lend you the monies, that's another way. A lot of people have told me they probably raise funds to do several things from friends and family and friends. They just go to them, speak to them and say, look, I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z, and I'm trying to raise X amount of money. Could you please lend me $10,000, $20,000, and I'll pay you back with X interest or within X amount of time? And if you're able to sell that dream and that vision to your family and friends, you just might be able to raise those funds from them, right? So those are pretty much typical examples of how you can raise funds. And I guarantee you that if you know what you're doing and you have a good plan and you have a good vision in terms of what you're trying to do with regard to the business that they're trying to acquire, or with regard to that real estate investment that they're trying to do, you will most likely raise the funds, right? I always say this: if you have a good deal, the money's gonna come. If you have a good deal, the money's gonna come. You know, so focus on trying to get a good deal, focus on trying to find a good business to buy, focus on trying to find a good real estate investment to do. And by the time you adopt any of these, methods, you will most likely find the funds. You will most likely get the monies. If you notice in this list that I just tabled out, I didn't mention the banks or the financial institutions. Of course, they will always be there to lend you monies. The reason why I didn't mention them was because it's pretty much a very basic and traditional way of raising monies, or raising the funds. Going to the bank and trying to raise monies or get the banks to lend you money. I didn't mention it in the list because it's a given that, the banks will, that's what they're there for, right? So going to the bank to try and raise monies from the bank will always be a traditional way of raising funds. But just in case you don't want to go to the bank, these alternative ways that I just mentioned now will always be there for you to also explore. Okay? I hope you learned a thing or two from this. I hope you got value from this. If you did, let me know in the comment section. If you have any comments or if you have any questions, I'm happy to give you answer those questions. I'm happy to shed more light, particularly from my own experience. And until we see you again next time, I love you all. Have a great day and enjoy yourselves. Bye.